I'm joined by Jesper Brandgaard. He's Chief Finance Officer at Novo Nordisk A, position that he's held for more than 10 years now. Joins me live from Copenhagen. Thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it. So I just want to start by asking you about the Victoza drug. It seems that these earnings have done pretty well on demand for that. Do you expect that demand to continue throughout the year and perhaps even beyond?
Yes, clearly we are seeing a very steady demand growth for Victoza. We are now taking more than half of the patients around the world for Victoza, a leading GLP-1, and it's a very convenient drug for people with diabetes, type 2 diabetes, to take. They only need one injection per day. It controls their blood sugar very well, and it also basically slightly lowers their weight. A problem, as you alluded to, is a frequent cause of developing diabetes and a hassle for people with diabetes managing their weight.
So does that mean that you expect Victoza to hit $1 billion in sales this year or the next?
Well, I think at the turn of the year, if we analyze the sales of Victoza, we would certainly be looking Victoza turning into a blockbuster.
And to what extent are efforts to market the treatment in emerging markets contributing to that?
Well, we're seeing a steady development in diabetes in all of the emerging markets. There is a clear trend that as and when the economies develop and people increase their wealth, then we are seeing an increasing level of obesity, and linked to that, we are seeing an increasing prevalence of diabetes. If we take a market like China, if you look to rural China, there you'd be looking at a prevalence of diabetes of 3-4%, where if you go to the major coastal cities of Beijing, Guangzhou, you would be looking at prevalence levels of around 10%, and that's similar to the levels we've seen in Taiwan and also places like Hong Kong and Singapore with large ethnic Chinese populations.
So clearly you're seeing demand for this drug surge in emerging markets like China as we see income and quality of life improve and obesity, diabetes on the rise. Does that mean that sales in China, are they beating sales in Europe and the US? How are those markets doing in comparison?
Well, the European markets and the US market is, of course, in 2011, both of them impacted by healthcare reforms. We are estimating that approximately 3% of our global sales have been taken out in growth in the first quarter of 2011, and it will be approximately the same for the full year because of the introduction of healthcare reforms. So overall, I think we can only expect low single-digit growth from a market like Europe for 2011. Whereas we expect higher growth rates in the US, also because of a more aggressive conversion to modern insulins in the US and a more positive pricing environment overall in US.
I understand modern insulin sales fell from the fourth to the first quarter, right? As did sales in the US. Is that because of this reform that you describe?
It's partly a reflection of the reform and also a traditional seasonality in our business, where fourth quarter typically will be slightly higher than the first quarter of the next year, and then it will grow from there. That's a pattern we've also seen in previous years.
Okay, and I just wanted to get a quick one, Mr. Brandgaard. I wanted to get your thoughts on some recent studies. I'm sure you're aware of this, showing that the anti-bleeding drug made by your company that was meant specifically for those suffering from the rare blood disorder Haemophilia doesn't actually help. In some cases, it can be harmful. Tell me, what is the company doing to, what are you doing in response to this study?
Well, Novo 7, which is the name of the product, is a product that has been developed for Haemophilia and works really well for Haemophilia patients who develop inhibitory reaction to traditional products. What we have also seen historically is that doctors at their discretion have used the drug also outside the labeled indication, investigational use it referred to. It's been used at hospitals in surgical settings, and there are mixed results, and that's why we probably will expect that there will be less investigational use in the future.
But so then, is your company doing enough to update the label to lay these concerns to rest, to make sure that it's being marketed in the correct way?
Certainly, and the label for Novo 7 has been updated multiple times, and it has actually been updated for these specific risk of thrombotic event. So I think we have a label that adequately reflects what are the benefits and what are the risks in using Novo 7, and what is it appropriate to use it for, and that provides good guidance for the medical community at large.
Okay, well, you know, really interesting to hear from you. Jesper Brandgaard, Chief Financial Officer of Novo Nordisk, of course, the world's biggest maker of insulin. Thank you.